Now, swimming, you can swim, can't you? I can swim. And we can all swim, or can we? Most of us. How many of us can swim? Well, I can tell you, these are stats, hold your hats, these are stats that have come out saying that 95% of black adults and 80% of black children in England do not swim. Those are the official Sporting England figures. 95% of black adults. I was gobsmacked when I read those stats. But then again, I thought back and I thought, yeah, maybe. Well, a podcast talking about swimming in the black community has been created by the musician, film producer and co-founder of the Black Swimming Association, Ed Akira. It's called Why We Don't Talk About Swim. Sile Sibanda from BBC Radio Sheffield had a chat with Ed, and he started by talking about his relationship with swimming.
All my life, I stayed away from the water. I had no relationship with water. Was it an issue? To me, it wasn't, because I didn't miss anything. When everybody's in the water, in the pool, having fun in the water, I'm never part of that, because like I said, I keep on saying no relationship with water. But my laptop didn't work, so I decided to go on to the boat trip. One of my friends said, let me take a picture of you in your life jacket. You can use that picture on one of your album covers or your single covers. And I said to myself, okay, if I'm making a song about myself in a life jacket, then it has to be something to do with water. So I made, and obviously I was aware of the issue of a disproportionate amount of black people that didn't swim. So I made a song make a film called Blacks Can't Swim. And the whole idea behind the song was for someone to make a film about the issue with black people and swimming. I ended up making that film myself.
Tell me about your podcast, Why We Don't Talk About Swim, and what sort of conversations do you have on there?
When I started Blacks Can't Swim, I had very many people, a lot of people telling me that please do not call it Blacks Can't Swim, because by calling it Blacks Can't Swim, you're adding to the stereotype, you're adding to the stigma. I insisted on calling it Blacks Can't Swim because I was talking about my personal journey, and I was talking about what had kept me away from swimming. By creating the Blacks Can't Swim campaign, there were 2 more films after the first one. I co-founded the Black Swimming Association as the first non-profit organization set up to highlight the importance of water safety and drowning prevention in the African, Caribbean, and Asian communities. I published a book about the whole journey. But the whole Blacks Can't Swim campaign was set up to be confrontational. It was because when I first started this journey, people were not talking about it. And even if they were talking about it, they were talking about it behind closed doors. It was the elephant in the room. So I wanted something to bring out the conversation, and bring it out into the open, and that's what Blacks Can't Swim did.
Well, that was Ed Akira, co-founder of the Black Swimming Association. Let's talk to Marsha Nsiah now, who's the founder of Black Girls Swim Club. Marsha, did I pronounce your surname correctly?
Yeah, that's close enough. It's Nsiah.
Nsiah. Apologies. I apologise.
That's okay.
Marsha Nsiah, founder of Black Girls Swim Club. There is an elephant in the room, as Ed Akira said at the end of that conversation that we've just heard. I would say the elephant in the room is whether he should have called his podcast, Why We Don't Talk About Swim, or call it Blacks Can't Swim. Should he have called it Blacks Can't Swim or not?
I think that's fine. I think a bit of shock value gets people talking, and in the end he's trying to bring awareness to this big issue.
Yeah, it's something of a stereotype, but there is actually resonance in this stereotype. There's a lot of people in the black community will know.
Yeah.
First of all, generally, before we come to the specific issue of black women and swimming, why can't blacks swim?
I think it's just not in our culture. It's just not something... So, for example, my story was I did learn at school, and a lot of us in the UK did have compulsory swimming lessons.
I've got a red badge.
what's a red badge?
Oh, you're a different generation. Well, in the old days, if you swam 10 metres, you got a green badge. A red badge
okay.
was swimming 25 metres, maybe then you got a yellow badge. You had to dive, you had to come to school in your pyjamas, go to the swimming pool in your pyjamas. No, this is true. And then you had to dive into the 6 foot, the deep end, and pick up a brick. And then you get your
Okay.
yellow badge. You had to swim backstroke as well, like you're saving somebody. So you had to do a life-saving thing where you got your hand under their chin and swimming backwards. People of a certain generation will know, what's a red badge? You know how hard I had to work for that? Anyway, let's leave that to one side for this conversation. Just letting you know, I learned to swim like you at school.
Hmm.
But then, what happens? Why can't we swim?
We just didn't carry on. I'm just finding that it's a common thread for a lot of us, and I don't know why that is, but that's why I have created my community to try and change this and make it more of a cultural thing that we do together.
How can it not be part of our culture? And I'm not disputing what you're saying, but because I've been to the Caribbean, and what struck me was that a lot of children in the Caribbean, it's almost unbelievable. You're on a Caribbean island, and the indigenous children, or the local children, however you want to describe them, run into the water and then run out again. And the rubber rings there are basically inner tubes of big motor vehicles like trucks and everything, the inner tubes, the black inner tubes of trucks, and they'll be swimming there, and I'm like, well, this is an island. Surely on an island, everybody knows how to swim. But then again, Britain's an island, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's the temperature of the water, the weather. I do think there was a slight difference between the diaspora and people in Africa or the Caribbean, and because I'm discovering more communities happening in those places over there where young girls and young boys are swimming and surfing, but it's just not something that I'm seeing here.
There is a health hazard, or it is a health hazard, not being able to swim when you live close to water.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a health hazard. And I wonder, as much as, you know, those figures, 95% of black British adults can't swim, I wonder if we're taking it seriously enough, or whether it's just exotic. It's an exotica. That, oh, did you know 95% of black British adults can't swim? Isn't that interesting? Rather than sort of thinking, oh my goodness, 95% of us can't swim. That means 95% of black British adults are at risk of drowning.
People are taking it seriously. So I'm working with a swim teacher I know. She's lobbying in Parliament to make changes, like serious changes in schools. So this is something that a few of us are taking seriously. And that stat that I found from Drowning Prevention Week was the kickstart for me to start my club. So I read that and I thought, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, your club is Black Girls Swim Club. Why Black Girls Swim Club? Why?
It's my identity. I relate to that. And I think there's not enough for women specifically. I think women face their own specific barriers, especially black women. So hair is a massive barrier. And finding the right swimming cap so that your hair doesn't get damaged or messed up. Even things like periods, or dressing modestly if you're Muslim, for example. And that's why I created my club, so that these women can feel comfortable swimming in a private space together.
There's a lot to consider that perhaps we don't normally consider as society. The one of those three examples that you gave, and all strong and important examples, the one that I was familiar with previously was hair. Now, for those who don't know or don't understand, why is hair an issue when it comes to black women and swimming?
Again, I think this is a cultural thing, perhaps presentation, wanting to fit in. It's just different care. Like, I've got a massive afro. It's huge. It's not a quick wash day situation. It's a whole thing when it gets wet and I need to washing, drying. It's a whole thing. So it's important, and you can see why that would be a big barrier to just going for a quick dip in the pool to then needing to spend almost half the day to do your hair afterwards.
And not to talk of what it costs to do your hair afterwards. I've been married for over 20 years and my wife still hasn't told me.
the cost.
Well, I do know that she goes away very early in the morning to get her hair done and doesn't come back till very late in the evening on the same day. And when I'm trying to work out what that must cost, I just get heart palpitations and put it to one side. But it is a serious issue that needs to be considered. The other issues that you mentioned, for example, periods. You know, periods. If you're on your period, there might be issues. And are there any mitigating, perhaps, remedies to that or not?
Not really. I think it's still something I'm sort of trying to explore and find out what other women do, and I'm sort of learning some interesting facts around this. But tampons and things are fine for most people. Some women have really heavy periods, so maybe that will stop them, for example. But these are things that women go through that some men don't, and which is why it's nice to have a safe space where the other members understand you, what you're going through.
I hope I'm not putting these notions in a clumsy way, but for example, when we talked about hair, you said, you know, you need to find the right kind of cap to mitigate against that issue, if you like. And I wonder, you know, for example, when you talk about Muslim women, I do know the story. It's been around for a couple of years now about, in particular, France, Muslim women and whether they're able to wear appropriate, modest clothes to go bathing or not. What's the situation like in the UK? What will, if you like, influence Muslim women to go bathing, to learn to swim?
So, for example, when I'm taking on members, I do ask these questions to be as inclusive as possible to find out what the individual wants. So some people, maybe they want women-only lifeguards, women-only coaches, or they just want to wear longer. So instead of a normal tight-fitting swimsuit, they might wear something looser, they might wear something over their head. But it's up to the individual what they want. And I know that I don't think we have any laws like France do in the UK. I don't believe.
What's been the experience so far of the Black Girls Swim Club for you? Do you have a lot of members? Is it
There's
something?
A lot of members.
Yeah, I can imagine actually. I can actually imagine that, and I'm imagining that. Well, it shows how much it's needed in communities right across the country. In any case, Are you changing the stats? Do you feel like
I really hope so. That's exactly that's my mission, to change those stats and to make it normal amongst us. So there's currently over 900 members I've got registered in the UK.
Wow.
And I've been to like a few lessons, and it's so nice meeting the women and the girls and seeing some of them are so terrified to put their face in the water, and then by the end of the course they're quite confidently swimming across both sides of the pool. It's really nice. It's really touching.
And what's the course?
Well, so it's Black Girls Swim Club, and over the last few months I've been arranging private swimming lessons with a swim school, and we're slightly changing it this year and reaching out to more people around the UK to get more schools on board.
And how can people find out more about this?
So they would go to my website, blackgirlswim.club, or Black Girl Swim Club on Instagram.
You've done an amazing job. I'll tell you that. You've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish you, very much success going forward. Will you come back and talk to us, maybe
Definitely.
a few months down the road, and maybe give us any updates on this? Because I think many people will be hearing these statistics for the first time. Like I say, for me, it's still quite shocking to see them. But it'll be great to hear updates, and if there are any sort of stories you can bring us from your club, it would be absolutely fantastic. So let's talk again.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's Marsha Nsiah, the founder of the Black Girls Swim Club. If you've got issues with swimming, or you learn to swim one way or another despite issues, then talk to me. 08000 321 333. Did you know those facts? I mean, if we're talking about people from an African Caribbean heritage in this country, I'm generally gobsmacked. 95% of black British adults don't know how to swim, can't swim. 08000 Is it easy to learn to swim? What do you remember? There was a point when none of us could swim. I know they say babies can swim, but realistically, there's a point, isn't there, when none of us can swim, and then there's a point where, suddenly we've got it, we've found it. We can learn to swim. How difficult or easy, if you like, is it to learn to swim? Yeah, let's talk.